Oh, hell, boys and girls. It is the weather report for October 26, 2021. Did I name it right today? I did. That's a good start.
That is a good start. Knowing what day it is and
Yeah.
who the president is can help you pass those little tests for, for like mental capacity.
Yep. So I wish Peter was here because for a disclaimer, I was going to start reading that.
I've never heard those words put together.
I know. That little cherry he embedded in my Saturday Night at the Atheist, I can't read it. And it bothers me. I think he should make it clear. Come on, Thor. It's okay, Thor. You can go away now. I don't fucking need you anymore. I don't love you anymore. Oh, why did I ever get cats? Anyway, what's happening? What's happening out in the world?
Oh, living the dream. Living the dream every day.
Oh, living the dream. My esteemed colleagues. That's all
Did
you
you
have
guys
to say.
watch the Icarus, the song? He keeps posting it. You can stop posting it. It's a real, unless this is a different one.
Hey, will you quit posting it? If Speed puts it in the description,
yeah,
come on, Chris, give us a break.
Although I don't know, this is that a different one from the one he watched, but the one he posted, the very first one he posted, I watched it. It was actually pretty good. It's funny.
Yeah, there's some parts that are clippable there, but I wonder if it's a copyright strike.
There are several songs that are about a guy named Danny or Dan or Daniel.
There's Danny Boy. Well, let's just try it. I can always edit this out.
There's that one by Elton John. I can't remember the title of it.
That would definitely be a fucking copyright strike.
Yeah, for sure.
Let's see here. We do need a theme song. Don't you think?
This has got a lot of views, right? What has he got for subscribers? Does it say? Go up a little bit. What's it say?
Hold on a minute.
I think we need to come up with a theme song, and embedded in that song, in the lyrics, should be something like "What the hell, gruh," or something like that. But over and over, "What the hell, gruh," and that would be pretty much what our channel's about.
28,000 views. Oh, I can't hear it, but you guys can.
Yes.
Yeah, but what's he? Look at his subscribers. How many does he have? He's got a lot of views, I see, but a lot. There's a shitload. So yeah, this probably could be a lucky strike for sure.
Had a growth spurt and just suddenly 6'2". Daddy, don't you know that you are cool?
Let's see what happens. 500. I like that part.
Yeah.
Didn't it say something about a growth spurt?
Yeah.
Something I had to get the lyrics.
Yeah. He said then you became 6'2". Yeah. That was funny. It's actually a great song to tease Danny with,
Yeah.
So
well, Danny said I can't. If I do a stream about him, all bets are off.
Yeah.
That means he's going to come on with sock puppets again.
Yeah. I mean, the good thing is like he has a sense of humor, so he would definitely laugh about it, at least that.
When was that?
Oh, he's laughed he's cracked up when you teased him. Like when you get something really good, like something like that.
Okay.
And you've done it in the past. He's laughed about it.
I must have missed it.
There's been other ones where he's been pissed at you, no doubt about that. But there's been some that he at least has a sense of humor when you're joking.
You know
He's
how
been
in the before we got started on this, we were talking about those auditors. First
Yeah.
Amendment
Oh yeah.
auditors. We're being audited. Oops, we're being audited right now.
Are we?
Yeah,
auditing?
apparently Digital Hammurabi
Oh no.
is going to test us for our knowledge of the First Amendment or something. I don't know what's going on, but
So who
he's
wants
auditing us.
to talk about the First Amendment?
Ox.
Ox?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, he
Ox,
brought it up.
That's a good
I know.
subject, Ox, but you should get on here and talk to us about it, man. We need
Yeah.
an Ox appearance.
Yep.
First Amendment.
We won't try to make you into an oxymoron either.
Oxymoron.
We'll treat you with respect. But yeah, auditors are just very interesting people.
Yeah.
Oh,
I appreciate that channel, Audit the Auditor, because he compares different, Supreme Court rulings, and he grades the auditor and he grades the cops and the videos that he uses that are sent to him. So it's actually pretty interesting, but I take everything in that arena with a grain of salt.
Yeah.
so Lil Peepee decided to take on a guy who's, I guess he's a working MD, and he's getting his PhD in cancer research, and an electronics engineer, and talk about how dumb they are. And
Yeah.
And this Mike guy kind of sounds like a box of rocks himself. And they were going on about how, oh yeah, and everybody in the chat was saying that this Mike was so dumb, and they were missing the fact that this PhD researcher and electronics engineer are dumb, according to John.
Yeah. Like I said, we were talking backstage. I was talking to Scott, and I listened to this a little bit, and it was John and Ontangelo going on. And, when you put those two in the same room together and talking about this stuff, I just find it to be just a joke. I mean, they're not qualified to even discuss it either. So it's like, what makes you any smarter?
Adds up to a real sad box of rocks. 2 boxes of rocks. Anyway,
Exactly.
So he complained. I guess I could show the complaint clip first, but the complaint is that this MD said that PCR, which is DNA replication, they use a polymerase and from a bacteria that withstands heat, and they heat it up and cool it down, heat it up and cool it down. Every time they do that, it melts the DNA, splits it in half, and then replicates it. And so it's times 2, times 2, times 2. And that's how PCR works.
So DNA melts?
Yeah, the strands will come apart.
Okay.
And so his point was that this guy said that because of PCR, that proves evolution. And so I found the original clip, and I just wanted to see if this is what he says. So let's listen to what he says.
You know how we do testing for COVID, the PCR test? That is a method of replicating.
Hold on. Am I echoing?
No.
I don't think so. It sounded good, I think.
Okay.
Rapidly replicating DNA. Right? That's how we test for COVID. We do it in a test tube where this is, I was talking about earlier how I worked in the plant genetics lab. That was my thesis, was working on getting this DNA to self-replicate, and you have to get it in the right conditions, the right temperature for the right period of time. You have to give it all the building blocks, and then it'll self-replicate. But it's just chemical processes. There's no magic. You just have to give it the right environmental conditions.
You're ignoring the human influence and the laboratory itself.
Yeah, sure, but
Okay. So John is always complaining that we don't do context. But if you look at the context of what the guy is saying, and did he say that it proved evolution?
No.
Okay, this is the context.
Make a DNA molecule, it's going to automatically self-replicate.
under the correct environmental
right.
conditions.
Yeah, which is the same for anything. You know, it needs
Yeah.
the right
But
conditions.
what is it going to self-replicate from? What's its source? Like
Well, that's what we need by the right conditions. You know, it needs some of the components
under the
required
conditions.
for
That's kind
more
of
DNA.
Well, it's the same as saying like humans are self-replicating, right? Humans.
Yeah, that was the context. Humans are self-replicating without magic. So he's talking about the same thing I keep bringing up, which is look at embryogenesis. There's no magic, there's no God involved, right? And they'll say, "Oh no, you need the information and you need the design." Well, do you? What you need is the right conditions. So what they have to prove in order to prove that evolution doesn't work is they have to prove that there is no possible way for the right conditions to come about without intelligent design, right? How do they prove that? And what have they done to prove that? What have they done to prove
Right.
that?
Absolutely nothing.
Other than say, "Oh, you want us to believe that
Yeah, they
something
just,
random happened."
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, yeah, they just shrug their shoulders, put up their hands. I don't know how it's done, and
Yeah.
therefore God. So
Like it's so illogical, and we just don't want to believe in God. You know,
Yeah.
we just don't want to believe in God.
Yep.
And
that
then
that guy Mike from Washington, when I heard him, I had flashbacks to Green Acres and that Mr. Haney salesman guy.
yeah, I kind of did too.
And if you've never heard of Green Acres, you need to find TV Land if that even still exists. And
Yep. Yeah.
And
Oh, I
watch
used to love that
reruns.
show.
Oh, yeah, there was one other
Yeah.
part. Where the hell was it? Let's see here. Oh, God. Did I put it in the very beginning?
Leo's got a link there too.
David.
That's what I'm talking about, Mr. J.
Yeah. Okay. So, and this MD was trying to point out to Mike that it's not a recipe. It's not something that you read and you say, "Oh, let's see, it says to put a 2x4 here and put a screw there and nail this in and do that." And then you end up with a human being. That is not how it works at all. It totally misses the entire point of what life is and how biology works, right? And this they cannot get through their head. But the average person thinks that, like this guy, this MD said, the average person thinks like there's a gene for this disease and there's a gene for your red eyes or green eyes, red eyes. There's a gene for that. It's called the marijuana gene. But anyway, so his point was that there isn't a gene for all these little features that you see at all. It doesn't work that way. That's not how it works. If people don't know how it works, then we need to educate people about how it works, because it doesn't fucking work like that. It's not a recipe. It's not information that's copied from the genome into the fucking body. It's not a plan for how to build a body at all. Anyway, you guys want to push back on that or go for it? Or I
do want to slightly do an aside to our previous subject of Green Acres. Secular pagan mom knows it by heart, the theme song. And
really?
Sometimes when I'm doing stuff around the house, walking down the sidewalk, I'll be singing Green Acres just because it just burrowed itself into my brain years ago, and it just won't go away.
Yep.
Yeah. So Leo posted an article, and they were talking about how the self-replication evolved. And I went out and did a quick Google search, found a paper on there where they tracked down the replication of DNA and the evolution of the replication of DNA. And that paper in itself would be a very interesting discussion for Andrew Cumming on phylogeny, because they go back and they look at archaea And for eukaryotes, the replication proteins that are used to replicate DNA are almost the same in every animal. Okay. But in archaea, and I think that's the case with bacteria too. They're very, very similar. But in archaea, there's a lot of variation. So they can see that the thing was still, for some reason, sloshing around and trying to find its way. But it produces a wonderful phylogeny tree. Not so good for eukaryotes, but really good for archaea. So, but right away you find a paper that suggests how some of these things evolve. And now some of the parts, there's like 3 main machines, and each of these 3 machines are made of proteins that are almost homologous with each other. They're very similar to each other. In fact, in some cases, there'll be 3 proteins that assemble from exactly, or a protein complex that assembles from the same 3 proteins. So it becomes a trimer, a homogeneous trimer, or homotrimeric. And there is a path that you can see where you can start to investigate how this thing may have come to be. But it's a big story. I mean, that is probably the biggest story, right? So anyway, let's see. We'll stop this one. But I got a few things in, and God, I wanted to quit looking at these guys. I don't know why do I even tune in? But they do manage to come up with some little things that indicate what we're up against here. I think. Let me see. Logical contradiction. Was it logical contradiction that I wanted to play, or was it Jackson Wheat? It was logical contradiction. Okay, let me give this a roll.
That's one of the single biggest logical contradictions.
Oh yeah, this is the water in the wine thing. They're talking about Swami Das again, and God, Sal Cordova just hates Swami Das.
Oh yeah, I heard that part. He went on about that.
That's because Swami Das is everything that Sal wants to be.
Yeah, and I think he calls him a hack, and he's stupid, and he doesn't know science. Swami Das?
It's just kind of projection. I see that. Doesn't Swami Das have like this huge CV and experience and places, honors he's gotten, as well as papers and books and stuff that's been published, and it just makes you want to stand up and salute when you read it.
Yeah.
And I just detect jealousy there.
Yeah, he's got credentials. I just looked him up real fast, but anyway, okay, let's hear what they say here.
I have with the theistic evolutionists generally, and it's not some old earthers, but mostly theistic evolutionists, when they want to claim that God would not interfere and not be physically interacting with the world in relation to its formation and in the existence of life, but then simultaneously says they believe in Jesus being the divine actualization of God in the flesh, who, and did what you were alluding to, performed miracles, still has raised people from the dead, also like that. So in that context, you're totally okay with God interacting directly with life forms, but you think it's completely counterintuitive to think that he would have done so in the creation of said life. Like, to me, that makes no sense.
No sense. Yeah. And so some people have been challenging the theistic evolutionists on the Old Testament. I said, just challenge them on the New Testament. Ask them if they believe Jesus turned water into wine, and then go from there, because it just doesn't make sense. So it's like you're willing to accept that act, especially.
That's one of the single biggest logical contradictions.
Okay. A logical contradiction is what he's calling it. So he doesn't understand what a logical contradiction is. That would be for the logic not to work. And then they're claiming that the theistic evolution, he refuses to believe that God would intervene, or he doesn't want to believe that God would intervene in each stage of life. No, that's not what a theistic evolutionist believes. What a theistic evolutionist believes is science. He's not pushing back on the science. He's letting the science take him to the conclusion about how life was formed by God. And it goes all the way back to, okay, God created a universe that was capable of creating us. And then, of course, most theistic evolutionists will at some point believe that in some places God intervened, right? Like, I think they believe in the resurrection of Jesus Christ. So there were interventions, but there didn't have to be a goddamn intervention at every stage of building a cell. God did not have to sit there with his little fingers and his little tiny hammer and hammer away at DNA and say, oh, now let's see, for the archaea, I think I'm going to change this this particular base pair to another one just to fool the humans. And then I'm going to use this one for monkeys, and then I'm going to use this one for humans. And it's just like, no, that they're not saying that they don't believe God can intervene. They're saying God didn't have to, because God was smart enough to design a fucking universe that was capable of producing life. What is wrong with that? What is wrong with that? And if you accept that, you don't have to fight any science. You don't have to fight geology, radioactive dating, any of this stuff. And they don't get that.
So what exactly was he saying was the logical contradiction?
The logical contradiction is that they believe that God created the universe, right? They believe in the resurrection.
Theistic evolutionists, right?
Right. Yeah, they believe in resurrection, the resurrection of Jesus, right? Which would be a kind of a one-off miracle, right? And they might even believe that Jesus turned water into wine. Who knows? Most of them that I've talked to will say, well, there's a lot of metaphor in the New Testament and the Old Testament. And I just, I have strong faith in God and in, Jesus, but I don't sit around and wonder. I don't need to know exactly what the historical events are, right? That's what they'll say. Yeah. Because they're more concerned with faith and good works than they are with this stupid fight against all of science that these asshole creationists want to push. And the creationists can't stand it that they won't line up with them as fellow Christians and fight science with them. But it's not a logical contradiction. A logical contradiction would be if you had some invalid logical argument, right? And they don't. What's illogical about saying about deciding God intervened here but not here? There's no logical contradiction there. Right. Of course, Maddox couldn't logic his way out of a fucking paper bag. So, but anyway, we know that, right? And what else we got here? I don't know what the hell this one was.
I'm going to.
Want to hear that again?
Was that you?
No, that was John. It's John making his.
I have a purely admin question. Okay. I finally.
Weird.
I don't know why.
I'm gonna search up a link that may be the start of an interesting examination of Kent Hovind's ministry. But let me get the link first, and then I'll explain it.
Okay. My voice doesn't go that high, Scott.
Your what doesn't go that high? Oh, voice.
My voice doesn't. Yeah, my voice doesn't go that high. No matter how tight my pants are, my voice.
I was wondering how you managed to do it as well. First I had to.
Oh, I thought this was interesting. Who do you think Sel's talking about here?
You had to go be zen for a few minutes to overcome that very intense stare you were giving us there for a minute.
Oh, no, I'm not into Zen. We know who he is. It's not me.
Who do you think he's talking about?
I don't know.
Yeah, that's not hard to figure out.
But lots of people can be into Zen.
That Answers in Satanism channel over there.
Here's Tony's theory about why they keep kicking him off Talk Heathen.
Monday's the worst. Atheist Experience and Atheist Edge, and I've been on all of them. They just hang up on me. I'm not as patient as other people.
Geez, I wonder why.
Yeah, do you think that's why they hang up on him, because he's not patient, or they hang up on him because he's a little bull terrier?
Yeah,
you see, he's a little bulldog with his face all crunched up. He's with purified chemicals.
Yeah, with lots of shit for brains.
He is. He has never said anything.
Yeah.
anything
Yeah.
other than one thing over and over and over again. He's just
Yep.
like is he really that dumb?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah. How do you, how does he drive a car?
Yeah, I know. I mean, talk about
don't know.
obsessed, like with one thing.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, that very
another
obsessed.
Here's another little goodie that I love by Slavic Striz or something.
But I think the same thing happens with even like people saying that, you know, the science is all about like only atheists can do like good science. They completely-
Scientism.
Yeah, exactly. They keep forgetting that science was started by by Christians. Even the West, or in the West, the reason the science started is because of I think I heard that there's a study that
Yeah.
they're looking at why
They'll
there
say
was
that was
What's his point there?
Oh, that's a Joel comment. That
Yeah,
all
yeah,
all science was started by Christians.
Yeah,
Like
so
they own all of science. They have all the credit and
That's something that
yeah.
Christians say to other Christians to comfort themselves.
yeah. So the extension of that is therefore the only way to do science is if you're a Christian, because all of the people in the in the Western world in the 19th century were Christians, or 99% of them, right? And they happen to be the scientists. Therefore, Christianity is science. Basically, I don't know. Is that where they're going with it? How do they get there? What are they saying? What does that have to do with?
Well, that's
anything?
not a new thing to say.
Charles
They've been
Darwin
saying
was
it
a
for years.
Christian.
They've been saying it for years, but yeah, that there's. I don't even want to rehash all that, but yeah, that's just something that's only significant to other Christians. You tell that to an atheist or a human or a more progressive Christian, they'd just be going, yeah, so what?
I thought this
People
would
have
been-
moved on. Science
Now
has
that-
moved on.
Now, here's where they start talking about Swami Das, I think. So Swami Das is on his mind.
There's a room for entertainment, and trying to, like when I hear him talk, it's like, what's the most efficient way I could dispense with their arguments? And
Okay. So what is the most efficient way you can dispense with all of biology? Is what he's saying, right? So what is the most efficient way you can dispense with an argument? Just that same mentality that there is one proof for evolution. What is your best proof for evolution? Standing for Truth says, and they want the most efficient comeback that'll just kill them, right? And then later on they talk about who is it? He comes up with the guy that was debating Jackson Wheat. He came up with one paper from the Lenski experiment, and he read from the abstract where they talked about certain populations that go extinct, and where Lenski is talking about the difficulties of de novo mutations in populations and some of the things that they found. And the paper has nothing to do with, it has to do with what he's talking about, extinction, but it was much more complicated than that. And he was always also talking about populations that ended up with this non-transitive dynamics, which means a population it'll be beneficial in one generation or a few generations, and then later on it'll become detrimental, and then it'll become beneficial again. And anyway, so that was the guy's one-off thing to shut Jackson up, because Jackson had not seen the paper. And then he goes ahead and reads the abstract. So what is this mentality that you're going to have this one efficient argument to get rid of us? And then your point is proven. You've proven God because you cherry picked a quote out of one paper. Go ahead, Midnight, say it.
How you doing? Welcome to hell. Wait, no, never mind. How you doing? I wonder if this is a stream that Little Pippi had. John had yesterday, and Andrew was on.
You're not supposed to call him John anymore.
Right. Quantum John?
Yeah, Andrew wasn't on the stream. I think he was in chat, wasn't he?
Well, no, I'm talking about yesterday. Quantum John had a stream.
Oh my God! Look at that.
Yes, he was. There you go.
Andrew. He's just going to do it. He's 18 now. We're gonna have to let him spread his wings and have them shot with buckshot a few times to just realize the mistake he's making.
Just last week, I had to talk him off a ledge because he went on John's stream.
I mean, you would have seen him on the stream anyway, so I didn't reveal anything secret.
I would not have. You totally gave him away. I was never going to go back past the 4-hour point.
Oh, see? Well.
Boy, did you out him. Holy shit.
By the way,
it's for his own good.
Concerning that kind of one-shot deal of finding this one thing, one zinger to shut people up during a debate or during a discussion, what that is it's not looking for rational arguments. It's not trying to be rational. It's not trying to be scientific. It's rhetoric. It's
win the argument.
Trying to find the most effective rhetoric to use. And it gets into kind of the point that Telltale is starting to get into. I think he's going to do multiple videos on this, but he did a thing that came out today called How Kent Hovind Uses Propaganda. And he's looking at what Kent does in his videos in terms of how do propagandists get their message out and what tactics do they use. And once again, it's
and that's what Sell is talking about.
Rhetoric and marketing.
That's what Sell is talking about here. What is the most efficient way to propagandize your audience? He's not talking about.
So he's not about science when he says that. He's not about reason or rationality. Sal's a propagandist for a faux.
Just look at that
science.
face. Look at that. Look at that look he has on his face.
Well, to be charitable, everybody is going to have that look between frames. So
yep. Okay, let's see.
And he goes, "Oh, fitness is actually declining." There was one segment that I think was the end of Jackson Wheat because throughout the debate he's been being very snarky and super. RJ has the most comprehensive library that exists. So I don't know if you missed that memo, Sal, but
I missed something.
Well, he got a lot of his periodic stuff.
No, I missed what I wanted to talk about. So he's talking about efficient.
The problem is when you give succinct answers, the people still it just glosses over them. If they knew more chemistry, I mean, one thing I noticed, like in James.
So if they knew more chemistry, if Swami Das only knew more chemistry.
Who says Swami Das doesn't know chemistry?
If Jackson Wheat only knew more chemistry, it's like he's talking about us like I had to teach Sal how carbon atoms hook up about a year ago.
Yeah.
And he supposedly he has a degree in biology. So I guess it's kind of nasty of me because anyway.
Now, did we determine that abstract said what that guy said it did?
Let me go pick it up. Yeah, it talked about things going about populations going extinct, but if you read the entire paper, it is a hell of a lot more complicated than that, and you would have to spend several hours on the paper. I scanned the paper.
Yeah.
I read the conclusion. I read the abstract. I read a little bit about the methods. I read a little bit in the middle.
You know how many times was it Senator Joseph McCarthy in those hearings about communism and the communist sympathizers that would blacklist people? You know how many times he held up essentially blank news copy, blank newsprint, and waved it around to say, I have these documented documents to verify that so-and-so is a communist sympathizer, and it would just be fake stuff. And, waving an abstract around and saying, I've read this and it says this is once again, it's a tactic. You have to look at those things more closely before you have your win or before you can declare a win. If somebody says, I haven't read that or read it closely, so I'd have to, that's not shutting someone down. That's just saying, okay, well, nice for you. You can wave a journal article around, but let's both read it and then come back later and discuss it. That's what you do if you're about the science or about rationality.
So here's the paper they're talking about. This is, I think, let's see, asymmetric interactions among strains of E. coli. Yeah, I'm pretty sure this is it. Survival of the weakest. Was this it? We find that intrinsic differences. No, this, God damn it. No, I don't think this is it. Where in the hell is the paper? I know I have it. Lenski, let me see here. Oh, the paper is too new. I couldn't get it. So I got to go find it on Google. Googly. Evolution of, okay. I got a different place to get it. So this is, let's see, is Zelensky an author here? I don't think he is. Genomic and phenotypic evolution of Escherichia coli in a novel citrate-only resource environment. Okay, so they were talking about some of the problems that, some of the ways that their things go extinct. And I think what he, unexpectedly, some of the evolved populations show apparent declines in fitness. We also found evidence of cell death in the citrate clones. So that was his whole point. But now this paper is about the complexity of the different methodologies that they use, because you have to understand that what Lenski is doing is a very, very controlled, very serial environment. Okay, it's called, in fact, it's named serial something or another, the way they do this. Okay, and they're talking about how all these different populations that split off, and there were many mutations, and some of them beneficial, some were beneficial for a generation and ended up screwing the population in later generations. And from this, he derived this conclusion that it's impossible for a beneficial mutation to happen. And you can't do that from this paper. It just doesn't work. And it is a very technical paper on, and let's see, they have all of their, hang on a second, they have all their methodologies and all the different protocols they used. And then in the conclusion, they talk about all of the different things that they're finding out about evolution. And what they're finding out is that it's complicated. That's what they're finding out. But I'll post the link to this paper, so anyone that wants to take a look in depth, it'll be there in the description. Am I the only one here? Is anybody else here?
You're not alone, Speed. I was just in the kitchen getting a cold drink.
I felt pretty alone.
I'm sorry, man. We're here for you.
I couldn't get to the, I was doing something and I couldn't get to the unmute. Sorry.
Oh, let's see. Put things in the description. Anyway, throw the link out there. We can open it up and talk about.
Yeah,
whatever.
we'll throw that link out there.
Or you see, you're probably not following chat. Stephanie got booted from Sal's because she said you can buy a PhD. She wrote in his chat. Yeah, and Sal probably wigged over that, I'm sure.
Patriot University or something.
Yeah, that is a very sore subject when it comes to degrees and all that. When it comes to Sal, and what books he's studied, and what's the theorem that Sal freaks out about?
Goodell's
incompleteness.
Yeah, incompleteness theorem.
Not in this book. Not in this book. Not in that book.
Yep.
Not in the Bible. It's not in the Bible.
Definitely not in the Bible.
Definitely not in the Bible.
Yeah.
It might be in the Bible.
Very touchy. Yeah.
Okay, and then Leo linked paper, and I put that in the description. And that one is self-replication of DNA by its encoded proteins in liposome-based synthetic cells. Oh, that would be an interesting little paper. But
so this abstract was being used in a debate against Jackson Wheat to say evolution isn't true.
Right. Yeah.
Wow. The balls on some people.
Why don't I have that? Okay, doctor, I do have that. Okay, it was this debate here. I'm gonna have to put that in the description too. Share screen. Let's. I'll show you his conclusion.
Okay.
Let's see here. And John was just, oh, Jackson, we just didn't know what to do after you heard about this paper.
Well, once again, what can you do if you've not read it?
Right. Okay.
To an amphibian.
Hold on.
That's back to my claim that mutation plus natural selection only can get you so far. Yes, you can get variation, as you correctly pointed out. Even the creation model will allow for variation. It's how much variation is acceptable. And my challenge is that when you're talking about the massive amounts of variation that are going to be involved in going from, a lizard to a bird or going from a fish to an amphibian, that's where you run up against that you cannot accommodate the mutational load that's going to occur. And natural selection just simply can't keep it clean.
So in essence, they moved it to a, I don't know where that came from. So they moved it to a new environment and it's not as fit as the original population was. I don't find that especially compelling.
Okay. Anyway, so that, you see his conclusion from that abstract, from that little piece of the paper, right? On just a really complicated analysis of changing these populations and modifying their environment. There's two different methods. One is Zelensky, which, has the, I think he keeps the environment the same. And the other one was moving them into different environments, that they found different ways for extinction to happen. We fucking know extinction happens. If extinction didn't happen, evolution wouldn't work.
Or it would work very differently.
It would be very different.
Because you still have genetic drift and
Right.
things like that. So,
well, if extinction didn't happen, we would have
niches to fill.
I don't think any two animals would, or any population would be the same. They just keep mutating and mutating, and it'd be a fucking zoo.
My gosh, there'd be more and more animals.
Be a fucking zoo. I don't know, but anyway, so it's just all pretty weak. It's just underanalyzed. The whole point is that as long as they believe creationism first and read the science second, they are never going to be open-minded enough to actually read all of the science. They only have to read the part that agrees with them and spew it out in the most efficient way to rebut, as a rebuttal to our arguments, whatever argument we come up. And playing this fucking game with coming up with these one-off things, I'm not sure if that's the right way to approach this. Like lizard placentas and things like that. Because you're just kind of playing into their hands. They're going to find something in the paper that indicates that, oh, well, this is not that simple. Well, none of it's simple. You got to read about it. You got to have an open mind. You got to try to figure it out. And if you want to prove intelligent design or creationism, you have to fucking prove it. You have to prove that. You don't have to disprove each little tiny experiment that we do. You have to go out and prove your own thesis. If you have a hypothesis, fucking prove it. They haven't done that. Anyway, open it up. Open it up.
Didn't I already do that? Oh, well.
You did. Do it again. Do it again.
You want more openness?
I dare you. I dare you to do it again.
All right, I'll do it again.
Double dog dare you.
Well, I can't. That's it. I minimize it. Dang it. I hate when I do that. I got so many tabs open.
Yeah, I don't think anybody's watching today anyway. Anybody watching us?
They're all in the kitchen getting a cold drink.
There's 25 of them watching us. So,
oops! I just commandeered your name.
Oh, you did. You made it look like I did. Yeah.
I'm wicked.
So much Peter was here, so Peter could read my grumpy statement that he embedded in my snata.
Once again, that's a sentence I never thought anybody would say.
Yeah. Yep. What was it? Speed is a grumpy old man who plays with his guests like his cats play with mice. And then something about the raccoons like him, but only because he feeds them. And that you guys have to put up with me. And that just describes his channel to a T. Right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. I know how you are. Anyway. So
Let's see what Guts It Given has to say.
That is so true. That, I mean, where's the ID model? Where is it? Why isn't it? Why doesn't somebody have it and making predictions and doing something with it, right?
the creationists in some way are more, they have kind of a better idea in that God just zapped it all into existence in 6 days. Well, no, if they said he just zapped it into existence in a nanosecond, like from 1 second to the other, that would be okay. But now the ideas are claiming that God dumped a dump truck full of eukaryotes in the ocean at some point, or, he intervened at little points along the way, or he intervenes constantly or something like that. So, I mean, that doesn't hold water either, because they never actually think about it like that. Like, oh, okay, you've got an ocean full of prokaryotes, right? All of a sudden, one day, God magics eukaryotes into existence. How does he do that? Does he create just one?
I wonder if Erica would just click on that that link and come in and tell us what's on her mind, because she's saying some interesting content here. Right now, it's like soapboxing here in the side chat.
Yep. Come on in,
But,
Erica.
she said something about starting on her dissertation work the other day. Very exciting time to be a Guts It Given. But I think those things take a couple of years because she's got field work to do and things like that.
Yes. I'm putting a link in. So I'm busy.
I put the link in a couple of times. Nobody's coming in. Come on, guys. Come on. Somebody has got to have an opinion about something that they can talk about.
Oh, let's see. Oh, talked about epiphenomenalism yesterday. The idea that mental things are just sort of floating above everything. The idea of P-zombies, that, there could be a world where people did exactly what we do, but they had no mental experience.
Could they write poetry with no mental experience?
What's that?
Could they write poetry with no mental experience?
I still didn't get that.
Could they write poetry?
Oh, right. Yeah.
With no mental experience?
Well, David Chalmers
or a
claimed
song or a pretty much symbolic work like a painting without having mental experience.
David Chalmers claims that, yes, that is possible. That you don't.
I don't understand how that could be.
No, I don't either.
Hello, Guts It Given, Erica. How are you?
Guys, can you hear me? Can you guys hear
You're
me?
a little quiet, so you'll just have to use your instructor.
I'm gonna crank you up, Erica.
Hold on. Sorry, I'm sitting here in my kitchen. I'm cooking chili while I chat.
Ooh.
What time should we come over?
I'm coming over.
Come over whenever. Yeah, dude. I get summoned anytime people start talking nonsense about intelligent design in the side chat. I mean, the thing about it is that when it comes right down to it, if you want to think that organisms are intelligently designed or that there's tinkering going on or anything of that nature, that's totally okay with me. I don't really care. But the second that you start, suggesting that this is anything even within the realm of empirical, then you are creating the need for a model, right? Something that's going to actually attempt to explain some aspect of the natural world, right?
Correct.
And by doing that, when you enter the realm of the empirical, it starts to be required that you have some kind of testable prediction, as our friend SFT, celebrating his 6K subs this afternoon, likes to say. But more importantly, it has to have some kind of criteria for design, right? How do you determine the difference between the designed and the natural? Because these creationist folks absolutely love, more than anything, to note that yes, nature can do some of this variation. It can explain some of this change over time, but certainly not all of it. God is required for the rest. Okay, where and why?
Yeah, and that isn't a testable hypothesis
And if you want to propose that it is, by all means, have at it. But
So-
you know, people far more educated formally than, you know, the likes of the folks that we tend to interact with here on YouTube have attempted this, from the likes of Michael Behe, all through basically the entire cast of the Kitzmiller versus Dover trial, have made this effort and failed to come up with any means by which intelligent design can be anything other than repackaged creationism, which is the conclusion that a conservative Bush-appointed judge came to when presented with all this information in 2005. I mean, it's absolutely asinine to assert that intelligent design has any kind of scientific value if you can't even point to the most basal of models. Yeah, Daniel Bennett in the side says, if you see says if something looks designed, it's most likely designed. Okay, what's the criteria?
Yeah.
How do you tell the difference between a naturally formed arch and a human-made arch? Right?
There you go.
We
Good
can
question.
do it.
A checklist. Come up with a checklist.
Well, and a perfect example of this, if you'll allow me to wax poetic, and I apologize, I usually drink when I'm cooking, usually have like a glass of wine or something, so I get riled up. But the prime example of this is with stone tools, right? The difference between a designed stone tool, like a hand axe in nature, versus a rock, right? How do we tell the difference? Well, stone tools, one, we can see the designers at work, hunter-gatherers, chimpanzees, capuchins, things like that. So we know that there's a designer and we've seen them make the tools. So that's step one. Step two is identifying in this case, geomorphic differences between a stone tool and a rock, things like microfracture patterns, strike zones, stuff like that. And then the last thing that you have to do is you have to catalog those things together into a easily definable model that has the criteria and the designer all in one place, right? You have to show that the designer designed the thing that has been designed, right? And intelligent design lacks that at every single conceivable level, which is why these guys can't tell the difference between evolution within a kind, right, and universal common ancestry. There's no point where genetics stops.
And there are some cases where they have trouble figuring out whether or not it's a tool or not, right?
Occasionally, yes, but
Yeah,
fortunately, in the case of something like a stone tool, you do have the designers making the tools still today.
Yeah.
So you can identify, because you have the designer, how they interact with the environment and take the natural and artificially manipulate it into something that is abjectly unnatural and requires the input of an intelligence to create.
This is the thing that is so obvious to me. It's that we are tool making, tool using primates, right?
Absolutely.
We're infested with it. And they take that same kind of thinking and they try to make a god that represents some super tool making, super primate in another universe or outside of space-time that does the same thing as we do. And that's where the whole, and that just seems like what is that? Provincialism or some provincialism, I think they call it, where everything looks like your culture, or everything looks like how you would do it, right?
Well, and she's fine. You know, if you want to do that, by all means, go for it. But as in the case with stone tools, where we can tell the difference between a rock and something that had to be manipulated based off of things like fracture patterns, right? There should be that same signature in the natural world. Where in eukaryotic or prokaryotic evolution is the line? What can Mendelian inheritance not accomplish? And if you can't identify the line, then there is no reason to suppose that it exists outside of feelings.
Well, our friend Maddox, he imagines that DNA is this really complicated computer program in a computer programming language. And of course, he can't actually specify how it is a computer program in a computer programming language, but he imagines it. And because he imagines it, well, then it has to have a coder.
Well, look, I mean, John Maddox, we could dive into all of the issues there, but he's incapable of grasping a simple problem of continuity. In the conversation he had with Andrew, it was as evident as it ever is. Andrew said, what we can see is that there is nested hierarchy, there is common design. And then John goes into his spiel where he effectively says, well, why don't we use a base code? Like having a base code, those similarities is a sign of intelligence, it's efficiency, it's how we would do it, therefore it has to be a designer. Okay, I understand where you're coming from, John, but you have to show, in order for that to be the case, that there is a genetic line that is identifiable. Otherwise, all that gets you to is God-induced abiogenesis every time. But he's a young Earth creationist, and so he blusters and bloviates about this concept of the coder and how it's common design, isn't it? Clearly common design. Okay, how do you identify the design from the natural then? Are lions and tigers related? Are all cats related? Right? Are all carnivorans related? How far does that get you? And if you can't identify it, then again, there's no reason to suspect it's there. But since John doesn't do any science ever and has never had any formal training in it, he has absolutely no idea how it operates. So to him, if you suppose, oh, well, it's a possibility, all the possibilities are equally as likely.
Yeah, and the question, why is the replosome so different in archaea than it is in eukaryotes?
Cool. Where does that get you? Speed. Where does that get you? That gets you to God-induced abiogenesis. And these guys have a serious theologic problem with being apes. So you do indeed have to work backwards, because that's what the support, like all of the glut of data is front-loaded. Right, it's all in the recent past, and it gets sparser as you go backwards in time. So like a forensic scientist, like any scientist ever, you start where you're at and you move backwards, right? He fundamentally doesn't understand that. That's fine. I don't really care.
Yeah.
That's kind of a his problem and not ours. But the fact of the matter is the theology behind where life came from is significantly less problematic for them than the data that we have now, right? I mean, what they need to do as young Earth creationists is show specifically that there are taxonomically restricted groups that exist today that cannot be drawn back to a common ancestor, right? Not even within eukarya, not even within carnivora, not even within primates. And so for them, for John, it's completely asinine. Even I don't even understand why he tries to make this argument that he's starting from abiogenesis. It just makes him look really foolish, in my opinion. What you need to show is that these boundaries exist today and that they can be used to differentiate organisms into these created groups. Because again, all it's going to get you is to eukarya at most, if you're doing it like kind of Sal's way, right?
Yep. Well, if you looked at it from the aspect of computer programming, what we would find is that there would be, for primates, for instance, there'd be we'd have a brand new language that was even more efficient, and we would rewrite the entire code, and we change a few things about DNA, maybe the nucleotides and a few other things. And then for kitty cats, we'd we'd look back and we'd see some different coding, I mean, why is it doesn't make sense that it turns out the way it turns out if you had a designer. The designer would have to consistently try to fool us all along the way in order to end up where we are right now.
Well, and yet another reason why intelligent design is not scientific, as determined by the courts and the vast majority of scientists, all scientists who aren't intelligent design advocates, and some that even are. If memory serves, Michael Behe, at least cops to the fact that currently there is no model, right? If memory serves, this was on Dan's channel. So you can sit around all day, with your pinky in your ear and talk about how things look designed, as Daniel Bennett is doing in the side chat. But until you can actually show, and you don't even have to show a designer, that would be really nice, and that would certainly make your intelligent design idea more robust. You don't even have to show a designer, just a criteria to determine the design from the natural. None of these guys can do it. None of them have even attempted to do it, because every time they do, right, they come up with these irreducibly complex structures. they find out that they're not irreducibly complex. But the worst part of this is, even if they could come up with the irreducibly complex, yet again, all that does is get you back to common ancestry within eukarya. It doesn't allow you to separate, organisms from one another that are extant, or even within the Cenozoic, let alone humans from the apes, right? Which is what they need theologically to make YEC work.
May I ask you a couple of questions about your experience in a scientific institution?
By all means.
First of all, you're getting further into the semester. Are you still pretty much like creationist free in terms of like the things the students ask you or questions that are brought up?
Yeah, my students are superb. I mean, literally, I've had no one in the TA group, which is in the group of our TAs, this encompasses approximately upwards of 230 students, right? All taking biological anthropology. No one has had any, religious inclinations over the semester, because all of the folks who are religious find no problem with conventional science, as it should be.
I know my biology professor back when I was, in college, people did bring that up, the evolution versus creationism, and he just said, well, I'm a Christian, but I still believe in evolution, and a large number of people here have no problem with that. I went, oh, okay, and just kind of went on. Also, are you planning on any kind of celebration of having crossed the 10,000 viewer, or is it just so busy?
Yeah, Eric, I want to bring this up. When did Standing for Truth start his channel? About 3 years ago?
Give or take, but he had a YouTube presence prior to that as well.
When did you start your channel?
About 2 years ago.
I don't know. Was it that long? Because I
Maybe
think I'm about a year and a half, and you came after me, I thought.
Maybe a year and a half. I don't know. I haven't really checked.
Something like that. Anyway, it looks like you're kicking his ass. How does he feel about that?
Oh, I'm sure it's.
You have twice as many.
Yeah, I'm sure it's tearing him up inside, because Standing for Truth loves more than anything to bully smaller channels and tell them that they are irrelevant and they don't get very good views. And, meanwhile, what does he get? 500, 600 views per video? And it's hilariously evident that his highest performing videos all have Kent Hovind in them, right?
Yeah. And you got 79,000 views on your video on the Creation Museum, as I just want to point out. 79,000.
Yeah, I'm pleased to report that it's climbing too. I'm pleased to report that my sub number and view number is growing still a little bit every day, which is nice. I get about 200 new subs a day, which has been good.
So does that mean you have plans in the future for another hard hitting? Well, yours wasn't even hard hitting. It was just it was a fun and humorous, and of course the artwork's always spot on and the animations.
But I just wanted to stick that on the bottom of my shoe and step on Standing's face and grind it in.
Oh well, would you like something that's a little bit actually more devastating?
Oh yeah.
Yes.
So our mutual friend, Raw Matthew, local breatharian and honey consumer, he had that one video that went absolutely insanely viral a while back.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like got 800,000 views. It's crushing mine with regard to that. But humorously, he's at 13,000 subs. And if you go and you track his video performance, it's not great. And the only reason I bring this up is because he will be the first person to, again, bloviate all over the place about how incredible it is that his channel is doing so well. And I find it very curious that I'm rapidly approaching him in subscribers, and my video is has received 1/10 of the attention, which makes me wonder, why is it that my video, which went conventionally viral, I guess you would say, is performing a little bit better, right? It kind of makes you wonder if there was some artificiality going on with the virility of that other video that Ramat had. Because why didn't it perform as well? It just begs the question, makes me wonder. Just a
little gaming of the system.
What was that video? Was it something about a Noah's Ark movie or something, or what?
Yeah, it was one of their Noah's Ark floods. For a while I thought maybe they had they like emailed it out to churches or something, which wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, they ended up on some big site, I think, and they got basically they got mentioned or something. I don't know. It was something like that. Can't remember.
Daniel Bennett makes an excellent point. You can have 1 million subscribers, and if what you claim is not true, it is meaningless. That is 100% accurate. I totally agree. I couldn't agree more. The reason I bring it up because this is what our young Earth creationist friends here on the internet like to do. And then they complain and whine and moan when it gets thrown back in their face. If you want to play an analytics game, we can play that. But I'm a student. I do this part-time. This is a really enjoyable thing to do, but my job is graduate school.
Yeah.
Hey, so you're in the process of getting geared up for your dissertation. So you'll be doing all sorts of library work as well as going out in the field. Are you going to like videotape the process as you go, and maybe 2.5 years down the line when you have your PhD in your hand, you can do a documentary about the whole process?
Yeah, I'm really excited. The project that I'm doing has to do with the entire Miocene. So I'm doing Miocene ape material because there's a huge deficit in the literature on that. So I'm doing basically my project involves changes in dimorphism and monomorphism over the course of the Miocene. But because it's the Miocene, which is notorious for being really understudied, I have to go to all of the locations where this material is housed. So it's going to be a lot of traveling, considering the range of the Miocene apes is like all of Europe, part of Asia, and Eastern Africa. So I would love to be able to record some of it and be like, here's, the museum specimens in the Museum of Uganda, right? I think that would be really awesome and super fun and really interesting. But it would boil down to permissions, honestly.
Yeah.
Say, Eric, are you going to Faithless Forum in Austin?
I'm speaking at Faithless Forum.
You are? Oh, I'm going to be out there. I will.
I'll see you there, Speed. Yeah,
and Scott should be there too, I think.
Yeah, I need to make sure my reservation was on the right weekend, but
I'll buy you guys a beer.
Well,
not me, but
I will buy Speed a delectable soda.
A root beer
or a Virgin Mary. I love
Virgin Mary. Yeah.
I love Virgin Marys. Yeah, cool. That'll be great.
It should be fun. Yeah, I think it's going to be really interesting. I was honored as the stalwart agnostic of the skeptic community that I got invited to speak about young Earth creationism. That's what of course that's what I'm talking about. So.
Yep. What day are you speaking?
I don't know. I can't remember. I've honestly been a little bit swamped. I need to get I'm driving there. I believe I'm going to drive instead of fly, so I've got a lot of stuff to get in order. It's like it's a long drive, but flights are expensive, man.
Yeah, but I booked a flight like 2 years ago, or almost 2 years ago. So I got my comfort seating flight for $46, and that was only because I bought the flight insurance. I would have got it for $11. So
that's so nice.
Oh yes.
Hey, I can go out to the side of the road there on I-35, and you can pick me up on the way down.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I'll know when I see the hyena standing on its hind legs with the
more like you'll see Santa.
No, yeah, wear your Scottish rabbi outfit.
Okay, I can wear my Scottish rabbi outfit and look like Santa, and you'll know it's me. It'll be right across from the Miller Brewing Company plant, just south of Fort Worth.
Yeah, I think it's going to be fun. I'm excited. There are a lot of people that are going who I've never met in person, so it's like, it's going to be neat to see everybody and chat it up.
Should be cool.
Jason Torn.
It's Jason.
Look at that noble profile. That's a scientist at work.
Wait, now we were going to do Jason bashing. Does anybody have any material?
Yeah, if you have any roasting for Jason, just put it in the side chat or come on in. I'll put the link out.
Nobody does.
Did Erica leave?
Erica.
Yeah. Okay. Now that was the first piece of Jason bashing right there. As soon as you got here, she left.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah, I can understand. I wouldn't
She
want to
probably dropped her phone in the chili.
Yeah, it could be.
Yeah, I can understand that. I wouldn't want to be
Yeah.
on here either.
Yes.
Wouldn't it be wild if, like, at one of these chili cook-offs, the winner of the chili cook-off is asked his secret, to his recipe for chili, and says, "Oh, I always put an iPhone down at the bottom of the pot." And
Who's Daniel Bennett?
he's just some creationist who likes to mouth off.
Okay.
He's a resident creationist. He's a regular, and we appreciate him.
Yeah, it's all
Okay,
good.
I cancel that statement. I can't believe I said that. It was so unprofessional.
Who are we trash talking, Jason?
Oh yeah,
They were saying that you left because of me. They were like, I made you drop your phone in the chili.
Well,
so.
I heard stalwart profile or noble profile, and I thought you were doing like a face, so I tried to get back to the StreamYards from the comments, and then I accidentally closed StreamYards. So it was a classic. Maneuver.
No, I just noticed that there isn't enough Jason bashing going on around around our channels.
You can bash me for being a degree snob, which you've already done. You've already done that. So
you are a degree snob.
I am a degree snob.
Are you a degree snob, Jason? How so?
A little bit. Just because on these complex subjects, there's a lot of people that make very bold claims and are frankly, as much as I love folks who learn on their own, when people are like, I'm an autodidact, when they say I'm an autodidact, that to me, that means you just don't have any background in this area. You're just I'm like, oh, somebody says I'm an autodidact. I'm like, watch out. Here comes some bullshit. Here comes some shit that they think they know, but they don't know. But
I mean, to a degree, I think that the whole point of formal education is that there is a metric, tons worth of information that you get out of a degree that doesn't come from a textbook. It comes from interacting and the experience in the field that you get, that you're working in, right? Being around folks who've been doing this for decades and decades and decades, and having that input, right? I mean, and it's all fine. Oh, and I don't know how long you were listening, Jason, but this kind of harkens back to what we were saying moments ago about this whole concept of eyeballing it, right? Well, looks design, guess it's design. Okay, that's not how science works, right? It'd be really great if you could just make an observation like that and then make these grandiose claims. But you got to put your money where your mouth is and compose some kind of model or some kind of, just even a hypothesis, just something you could test that isn't just, well, looks like this. I mean,
I totally agree. And actually that comment by the person that just posted up there about I don't care what your degree is at, I care what your sources are. I mean, people can certainly cherry pick sources. And when we know lots of people that go out and make point to sources. And then when you actually delve into the sources, you find out that the conclusions that they're trying to draw from that source are completely at the antithesis of what that person was actually trying to say.
Well, wait, and I'm sorry. Who do you think wrote those sources? People with degrees.
That's true.
On.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the thing that kills me. It's if someone can propose, and I've mulled this over, and I've not been able to come up with anything. Can you guys think of any time where the paradigm has been overturned by someone who is completely removed from the field?
Yeah.
That where the paradigm's being overturned. You have to at least have a background.
I agree. I mean, I don't know, have you guys ever heard of this guy? He's I forget what his name is. I'll have to look him up, but he claims to have the highest IQ in the world.
Him.
Yeah. Sounds legit.
I mean, I don't know if he's actually I'm going to tell you his name. Let me highest.
You're talking about that guy that I think it was Dapper Dino or somebody kind of did a review of his channel. He was
hold on. I've got I've got the picture of the guy here. What's his name?
So while you're doing that, one thing that I got listening to Jason talk about this is that I realized like in doing presentations, doing YouTube videos, there are certain skills that I just do not have. I go in circles. I don't start at point A and proceed to point B. And if I had gone through the rigorous degree PhD process, they probably would have beat that out of me. So that I could put together a presentation that seems more linear and a little easier to follow. So that is a skill that that's one reason why I regret not having gone through the process.
Yeah, I mean,
Skills that I don't have.
Okay, the guy's Christopher Michael Langan, Langan. He's a horse rancher and autodidact who has been reported to score very high on IQ tests. He was on ABC's 2020 where they talked to him. He's called the smartest man in the world, but he's like proposed some like theory of everything, you know, type of thing. And people are like, this is really, this is like borderline, like they can't really understand it. But like, it's not impossible that somebody could be like just a freaking genius and not be trained in an area and provide like value to a discipline. I'm not saying that's not possible, but like Erica was saying, like there is a value that you derive from not just formal education, but education. I don't know if it's you would technically call it the Socratic process, but like the process of like working with others and having them evaluate your work and like kind of double checking you, because you just can't learn something. You could have a book and have everything in the book be accurate, but you could be misinterpreting what you're reading in the book or not understanding actual aspects correctly. And you yourself could be like thinking that you're correct, but you're not. And there's a value to not being in a bubble. And so it's not impossible for somebody to be extremely intelligent and publish in an area. It's just, it's difficult. It's an added level of difficulty.
Well,
yeah. This is the
and
guy.
that's,
Yeah. Here's his bullshit cognitive theoretic model of the universe.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
and
Anyway.
guys, I mean, that's all fine and good, and I tend to agree. But then it's like, hold on a second. Like, the question is, has there ever been a paradigm overturned by someone who is not within a subject or even adjacent to it? Right? It's like, you can be an absolute freaking genius and know everything about the subject. I agree. Autodidacts are awesome. I mean, that's fantastic, and I encourage it. But I can't think of a single example in the history of science where someone came into a field that they had absolutely zero formal training in it or anything adjacent to it and said, you know what? You guys are all wrong. Here's the real truth, right? It's like, because usually overturning a paradigm, and this is the key here for especially guys like our creationist friends online, is you have to understand what it is you're overturning. If you want to overturn the paradigm, you have to understand the paradigm.
Yeah, exactly. You just can't be like, well, I'm not looking at that. I didn't get any formal training in that because I'm thinking about this thing that's actually the truth, and I'm exploring this other area. But I didn't even bother learning what the traditional approaches are, of which thousands and thousands and thousands of people have worked on and built over time and time and time. I'm not even looking at that.
Have you seen his other ideas? Some other ideas. George Bush administration staged the 9/11 attacks.
Yeah. Well,
genocide conspiracy theory. Yeah. You got to dig a little deeper into these guys, figure out where they're really
Good.
at.
He seems totally on the level.
Yeah. And cognitive theoretic model of the universe? No.
Yeah, I agree.
Just say no. Just say fucking no.
I mean, I feel like Jason's got to feel me real hard on this, because it's like I spend 5 days a week, neck deep in freaking literature searches for the classes that I'm taking and the classes that I'm teaching and whatever. And, and then you come back into the YouTube world, right? And you see folks who have not even cracked a textbook on a lot of these subjects, like confidently and arrogantly claiming that, they got it all figured out. And then, and to that point, I'm willing to say, okay, let's hear you out. But I have been burned probably over 100 times on like, okay, I'm hearing you out. And, folks can't explain what they're overturning evolution, can't explain what phenotypic plasticity is. They don't even know what is that populations evolve and not individuals, right? In John Maddox's case, he likes to talk about abiogenesis. He doesn't know what a ribose is, right? What ribose is. So, I've been burned many times on this. It's like, it's, and I'm talking from my ivory tower. And then it's like last night I was trying to write a script on monsoons for a bite-sized bust on axial tilt and their relationship with monsoons. And I find out how little I truly know with regard to environmental dynamics, right? And I have to go back to like a baby's first undergrad textbook on this subject. It's like, it's okay to talk about things that you don't know as long as you educate yourself on the bare minimum, right? And then you source yourself.
Erica, I know where your institution is located. It's more like an ivory double wide. So
tell me about
ivory double wide.
Ivory double
he's
wide.
right. It's the truth.
Oh my.
It's a really nice
I'm
double
kidding.
wide.
I'm kidding you. You're at a very fine institution.
No, I know exactly what you're talking about, and I can't help but agree.
My niece and my nephew went there, so.
Listen,
Well,
I've got.
Hovind literally got his PhD from a double wide, right?
Yeah, Hovind literally did. Yeah, I did not mean to imply anything like that.
Yeah, you did not need to.
No.
Actually, I think it was a single wide.
Well, like as an example, like, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, like, given that you're in the midst of your doctorate, like, I feel you. Like, don't like, not. I mean, like, don't get discouraged. It's a marathon. There are going to be times when you're mentally gonna feel like you're being broken. Like, that's part of it, is to make you feel mentally broken, and like you have to push past that. And so part of it is being able to mentally cope with the stress and the fact that, like, I think I was telling Speed and these guys before, like, how many times have I written something, I'll write it and it comes back and they're like, this sucks. And you redo it and they're like, it sucks over and over and over and over again, telling me that the shit I'm doing is horrible.
Wait a minute, Jason. I put out a video and John Maddox the next day says it sucks. And then I put out another video and he says it sucks. So it's kind of the same thing, right?
Now, what kind of words do they actually use, Jason? Because I'm pretty sure it sucks is your emotional reaction to it.
This is incoherent. I don't know where you got this hypothesis.
That's worse than it sucks. I would prefer it sucks.
One time in my
Go ahead.
I'm
sorry. Go ahead, Jason. I interrupted you. There's a lag on my end, I'm sure.
One time in my preliminary exams, one of the guys on my committee, who's a statistics professor, he was asking me these questions about dimensionality reduction and like some of the aspects of he asked me like a theoretical question. And then my advice, well, I better not say who said it, but my one of the other people asked me like a question like, what would you call this kind of data? And I was like, like, these are transformed features, these are this or this, these are this, and they're like, nope. And I'm like, what? And then ultimately, like, it's summary statistics. And I was like, dude, like that, it wasn't even a summary statistic. And like, it's just like, they make me feel so dumb sometimes. And so I'm just saying, like, if people don't realize what people who go through that level of rigor, like, what they're pressed on, to make literally make you feel like you want to kill yourself because it's so difficult and you feel like you're the lowest of the low. But the last thing I was going to say, this is it. I just went to a seminar today and the topic was, okay, hold on. A guy from UW who talked about, trans MPRA, a framework for assessing the role of trans acting factors against many enhancers. And like, I like, the talk was amazing, but I was just thinking, if any of the guys on YouTube, like, were asking questions to these people, they would just be like, well, what kind of questions are these? These are questions like a high schooler or a undergrad would be asking me. I mean, they wouldn't even entail them. They would be like, I don't even understand your question. You know, so it's just comical.
No, I hold on really quick. I'm gonna switch to my computer here because my chili is officially simmering, so I'm gonna swap over. But to note that, I mean, 100% that's the case. You know, you've got a bunch of, for lack of a better term, yahoos here on the internet who are overturning the complete paradigm, and you know they're not even at step one, right? And I think that's why they feel like the paradigm can be overturned, because how many budding young earth creationist warriors have gone into a certain field and then come out basically being like, well, shit, what am I going to do now? Like, you know, they move forward with their education and they find out that, you know, a lot of this stuff is robust. And when your entire faith rests on such a myopic view of scripture, like, God, that must suck. No wonder they're all so defensive. It's like, I mean, I've got professors who know what I do here online, and their entire thing is basically like, first, they're still here. Second of all, why? Third of all, you know,
yeah.
What? Third of all, why again? Like, it's. Hold on, let me hop real quick.
Yeah, that's what I would hear too. Like, why are you doing this? So it's not anything legitimate from their perspectives. It's just a hobby, you know.
Well, yeah, I mean, golly, like, you know, my YouTube stuff, it's like I did some scripting and some recording this weekend, and I did it today because we're on fall break right now at my school. Like, I did it today because the rest of the weekend I spent perusing the entire early Miocene for sample sizes of every hominid that lived during that time period, from papers from the 70s up until now. I mean, it's like my work comes first. It's like, this is fun. I enjoy it, right? But it's like treating it as if it's like the bastion by which the war for truth is being fought is really funny to me.
Speaking of videos, when are we going to see some of those skeletons?
Ooh, hopefully soon. This is kind of a little bit on the DL, but I reached there's a YouTuber who is significantly larger than me who's hoping to do an anthropology series. And I'm going to be helping script write for that. Ooh. So hopefully that I'll stick around afterwards and kind of tell you guys what the scoop is, but hopefully that's going to be pretty neat. But I would love to. I actually found out that we actually have some Miocene ape specimens in my lab. So it's like, oh my God, that they're not legit, they're casts. But hopefully I'm going to use some of them in the video of the early Miocene that I recorded this afternoon.
Cool.
But it's like, damn, dude, it's like, you know, if you want to have an idea for a dissertation, right? Like Jason probably knows what I'm talking about. Like, it has to be an area where like usually not a lot of people have done stuff. And because of that, that's what makes it hard, right? It's like no one's done any work on it. So it's like,
you can't just Google it.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm sitting around trying to get, you know, measurements for some of these things. And it's like the measurements don't exist because there's a sack of teeth in Uganda sitting in a dusty museum that no one's looked at. And it's like, I'm going to have to fly over there and do it myself. So it's like, okay, that's really cool. And that's really nice. And like, I emailed my advisor over the weekend and I was like, I feel like this is taking a really long time. Like, I've literally covered 2 species and it's taken me 3 days. Is there an easier way to go about this? And he was like, nope, welcome to the Miocene. Like, that's what it is. Like, have fun.
Take a steamboat to Uganda, hit the ride.
Well, really, I mean,
somebody's hay cart.
I mean, for real though, it's a lot of these guys are like, you know, the nature of taphonomy and preservation is really weird. So it's like you got to go to some real funky places to find out where this stuff is preserving. Like, you think about the United States, it's like, why Montana? It's like because the Cretaceous, or the entire Mesozoic really was conducive to it. It's like, why East Africa? Same situation, right? We don't know that these things were crawling all over Africa. It's just that's where they preserved.
Yeah, and the thing is that they're kept, like you said, in a sack somewhere in a building. And who knows when the political situation might get so bad that building gets destroyed and everybody loses access to that sack of teeth or whatever.
Well, and
so
let me
that stuff documented is actually very important.
Well, and let me let you into my world. I was sitting looking just at species of Proconsul africanus, which is one of the earliest, it's usually pegged as the first hominid, right? Earliest hominid about 22 million years ago.
Proconsul africanus.
Yeah, so I'm looking at Proconsul africanus, and I'm like, oh, this is really cool. Like, it's found at Rusinga Island. It's found in, Songor. It's found in these 3 locations in East Africa. And then the immediate next paper I look at, that's published in like 1988, I think, is like, nope, just kidding. Those are actually, Proconsul nyanzae instead of Proconsul africanus. So I email my advisor. I'm like, what do I make of this? He's like, I don't know. You'll see when you get there. It's like, okay, like, what does that mean? Like, how do I know which species they are? He's like, well, a lot of times people just don't agree. It's the Miocene. Like, what are you going to do? It's like dealing with the early Triassic sometimes. It's like there are time periods where no one's done any work and it's a huge mess. And I'm basically just unloading my frustration on you guys because I'm really just beating my head over a brick right now.
We are an open line for expressing yourself, Erica, for you.
This is what, and this is like, I know somebody was mentioning in the chat about like, you can learn a lot of this stuff without a PhD. I totally agree. But the thing about a doctorate or terminal degrees is that, as an example, you're being pressed. This is my snob statement. Then I got to go because I got to meet with another collaborator. But like, this is like what Erica's doing is she is doing novel research that there may be people that have done aspects of it, but she's doing it in this unique, novel way. And the reason is because she's stretching her research legs to like expand to develop hypotheses that maybe other people haven't thought about, or to say, look, I'm looking at this concept or this area and I'm formulating I didn't just like regurgitate some hypothesis that somebody else did. I'm actually thinking about these things. And this is how like new research occurs, of people coming up with novel ideas. And this is like when we talk about intelligent design and evolutionary theory, etc., those are the people that are truly making breakthroughs and expanding the work. And usually, I'm not saying it always the case, but usually it's somebody that has those types of terminal degrees. Because frankly, you can have a terminal degree. Like, I go to like other faculty members and be like, they have like infinite more experience than I do. Like they look at me, I'm like a graduate student to them. Yeah, I have a PhD, but they have like 10 million in funding. They have like 300 pubs. They have like, it's like they look at me and I'm like, like a student to them. And so my only point is that, there is value to those terminal degrees. And so anyways, so I am a snob, and I'm sorry.
No, but the thing is that like you're completely right. I mean, again, the reason I brought it up earlier is that I was scripting for this video on monsoons earlier today, and I found myself in an undergraduate environmental dynamics textbook learning about how the precessional movement of the earth impacts things like monsoons, and I was like, holy shit. I don't know the first thing about this. So I went to the first chapter and I was like, okay, like it's time to, because this is baby's first environmental dynamics, because this is so far out of my field. It's like, I'm not doing it for research. I'm doing it for a script. So it's like, I'll source it and everything. But it's like, I can't even imagine having the audacity to come onto a public forum and start talking about something that I have absolutely no formal training in, as if I'm overturning the paradigm. It's like I know better than all the people who have spent decades and decades and decades and were taught by people who spent decades and decades and decades, who were trained by people who spent decades and decades and decades formulating the basis of all this stuff. Which is why, as I said to speak kind of in like an offhanded, cynical message earlier in the chat, it doesn't matter to these people. They don't care. None of this matters. Like none of the science matters. It's not about ultimate truth. It's about abstract hacking your way into not being immediately precludable. That's
the fact that Sal will go off and act like he knows all this shit on these areas when what he should be doing is saying like, you know what? I have a very small amount of understanding of this area, and I'm going to defer to the consensus that I'm reading. Like, I get really offended when people start spouting off that they know all this stuff when like, and they're going against the large consensus of folks. Like Speed's not doing that. Speed's like, look, I acknowledge I don't have this background, but I'm learning in these areas, and
sources
he's
his
in
claims.
alignment with the consensus.
And he sources his claims. That's the thing. Like, again, it's like you can come out, you can be an autodidact, you can be an incredible science communicator. Tons of science communicators here on YouTube don't have like whatever the formal degree, and that doesn't matter because they do their research. They source people, and they know what they're saying is well supported. It's like, but the second that you want to come in and overturn the paradigm that is basically the foundation for everything agricultural we do, everything medicinal that we do, every ecological, biological, and evolutionary biological textbook that we have in existence, it's like, okay, well then you know what? You kind of do need to know what you're talking about. Like you kind of do need to be able to like not mess up the brute basics of this concept. It's like, and I don't think that that's snobby. I think that that's practical.
I agree. Yeah,
so
absolutely.
It takes a tremendous amount of work to even dig out one of these little evolutionary pathways like the mammary gland. And,
people have done dissertations on
months.
one aspect of that, one step.
Right. I spend months doing it, and I still won't open my mouth because I know that I need more months.
And like, I don't need, and guess what? Like my area, I'm a geoscientist. I'm a climatologist. I study like superficial processes. I don't even like, I'm never going to be a biologist. I'm never going to have the knowledge enough to even go on to a YouTube channel and be like, I'm going to talk about evolutionary theory. I'm never going to have that knowledge. I'm not even if I do know something about it, I'm never going to claim that I am an expert or even like halfway knowledgeable in that area. Cause I don't even, I'm much more likely to be like, you know what? I don't really understand that. And I'm not going to claim to even delve into that. I'll defer to the experts.
Well, and that's why it's so freaking telling, right? Like I get tickled by this every time because it's like, you guys know that a while ago, our mutual pal, our 6K sub big boy with his big boy pants on SFT, had this lovely compilation of me basically being like, I'm not a geneticist, I'm not a geneticist, I'm not a geneticist, over and over and over again, which is great. Like, I really like that they dug through, dozens of hours of my content to find all the times that I said that. But, like, I wear that as a badge of pride. Like,
I was proud of you when he did that.
Oh my God. That is so right. Yeah, because this is the telling sign of a real, like a truly gifted scientist who are so quickly to be like, you know what? I don't really understand that. And I'm, like they're very open about things that they do and don't understand.
The devil's going to make me do this, but Sal Cordova said to Maddox yesterday that these people just don't understand chemistry. I watched Sal on his video live 1 year ago figure out what the hell a sugar was, what an aldose and a ketose was. I mean, so
oh man,
and now that he knows, he's slamming Swami Das and other people for not knowing chemistry. I mean, that is just hubris.
Well, and to repeat that, it's like, you guys remember the famous SFT gaffe from like 4 years ago or 3 years ago or whatever, when he didn't know what an allele was, and it's like, now he pegs himself as the genetics guy to the point where, and I feel comfortable dunking on him for this because I think it's so funny. Like, his background has a giant picture of DNA. Like, whenever he does like live streams, there's a big DNA picture. Like Donnie, our friend Donnie is like the geneticist. It's like, I don't even know that this guy went to college, but whatever, I don't care. The point of the matter is that he didn't know what an allele was, and very recently in a separate live stream to quiz someone else, he asked them what an allele was. Like, and I wanted to be like, my friend, right? Like, this is a pot calling the kettle black. It's a little bit of projection.
Well, Erica, I really like it when you say that you're not a geneticist, because, guess what? I'm not a geneticist either. And when we meet each other at the down in Austin, we can talk about our not geneticists together. Being what's
yeah, well, yeah.
And I can tell you all the things I don't know anything about, and maybe we'll find something in common there.
Well,
hey, I gotta go, guys.
See you, Jason.
All right, Jason. Have a good one.
Hey, I love talking to you guys. I'm glad I talked to you, Erica.
Love to chat with you, Jason.
Goodbye, snob.
I'll hit you up when I'm filled with dread about my dissertation.
Yes.
Yeah, please do. Okay.
We are your self-help hotline.
More Jason bashing tomorrow.
You guys will be getting messages from me when I'm like trying to get the Denuvius material from Germany. It's like I found that out last night. Like this is the level. I consider myself a decent primatologist, right? Like I feel like I know. I mean, with extants, I'm pretty familiar with all that stuff. That's what I got my master's degree in. It's like I feel like I know that. Like I could talk about extant primates, their social systems, their phylogeny, whatever, with pretty good confidence. But I'm sitting last night, I'm recataloging, just double checking to make sure I've got all the Miocene apes that I want to look through. It's like 50 plus species. Lo and behold, there's a 2019 paper about Denuvius, a brand new, potentially arboreally bipedal hominid coming from, Germany. And I'm like, okay, cool. Like, let me just add that to the list, right? It's like the more I learn, the more I know what I don't know, and it's a lot. Like,
Yeah.
I just don't know so much, and it's humbling in a good and an existentially horrifying way. But it's like, God, no, go ahead.
There is this point where you get where you study a subject and study it, and you're just beating your head against the wall for like years and years and years, and all of a sudden you come to this point where you feel this competence, this like it's all of a sudden you can kind of glimpse the totality of what you don't know and where you would need to go, but you end up like what you just said, that you feel like you're a decent primatologist. You get this competence after a while, which is just the most wonderful feeling.
Yeah, I'm still waiting on that. I've got the world's biggest imposter syndrome. Like I start chatting with my colleagues, and I'm like, do I actually know? Can I say what I'm about to say? Like, can I show that to be the case? And I'm like, yeah, of course. I know this is true, but I don't want to embarrass myself.
I got to point out that feeling of competence only lasts for about 30 seconds. So
and then you find out what else you don't know.
Right. Yeah. Then it goes away. But I want to shoot it in the head. I've got to go to a Dune movie.
Dune's great. You'll love it.
You've seen it?
It's on HBO Max. You could, but anyway.
Yeah, we're doing. Yeah, that's what we're doing. We're going to my son's house, and he's making us roast, and we're going to watch Dune together.
You're gonna love it. I really enjoyed it.
I thought it was great.
Okay, so I'm going to shoot it in the head and stick around for a minute, Erica. Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, shoot it in the head. Let's see. How do I shoot it in the head?
But I think our side chat is saying